Welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. On today's video, we are talking about Intercessor squads and the tactics around using them in your games. Now, in not the most recent balanced data slate, but the one around Christmas time, I think it was, right? They buffed the hell out of these guys. They're still only 80 points. Um, they were, a solid take for a long time, but nothing to be like, oh, yes, absolutely take them in your lists, right? That is until they changed one of their abilities. Um, and I don't remember what their, or maybe they just added an ability.
They added
I think
the
they
ability.
added an ability. So they still have objective secured, which is, sticky objectives, as everyone knows, which if you don't know, if you control it at the end of the phase, then you control it until you don't. But they added a new ability, and this ability, if you're not familiar and you've been living under a rock for the last few months, is target elimination. Each time this unit is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 2 to the attack's characteristics of bolt rifles equipped by models in this unit, and you can only select one enemy unit as a target for all of this unit's attacks. So basically, pick one unit that you're going to shoot at and fire 20 shots at it per 5 guys. Okay, this is phenomenal. This is a phenomenal ability. Now, bolt rifles are, nothing to write home about. They are 24-inch, assault heavy, 2 shots each, hits on threes, strength 4, AP 1, 1 damage. So they're not crazy, but they're good at clearing chaff. They're good at shooting light infantry, guard, Eldar, that sort of thing. And that volume of fire is its own kind of quality. Quantity is its own sort of quality, right?
Yep.
So, and of course, you can still get all the other things that come along with it. You can get a Startace grenade launcher, which you'll only ever fire the crack version because the frag version is garbage. But the crack version is decent. You can fire it along with your bolt rifle because it's not replace your bolt rifle, and it's not a pistol, so you can fire them both together. It's 24 inches, 1 shot, hits on 3, strength 9, AP 2, and damage D3. Not bad, incidental stuff. And the sergeant can get some nifty things. He can get a variety of uh, melee weapons: chainsword, power weapon, power fist, thunderhammer, and he can also get some interesting pistols. There's a plasma pistol and a hand flamer. But to be honest, you're never going to take any of that except for the power fist, maybe a thunderhammer, because you're not going to trade your bolt rifle for a hand flamer or a power plasma pistol. You're just
Nope.
not. So you're going to run bolt rifle with him, and honestly, he can take the grenade launcher too, and we'll get a little bit into this. But I recommend giving him the grenade launcher in your 5 man because you want to keep him alive until the end. Anyway, he's the one with the power fist, and that gives him some extra shots. That way, you're not having to worry about, killing off a weapon that you might want. Um, and I like the Power Fist over the Thunder Hammer. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I think we've done the math on it, and in general, the power fist overperforms against the thunderhammer in general. But I agree, you don't replace that bolt rifle because you want to take advantage of that uh, special rule.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't touch on how much damage it does, but we're all going to be thinking about uh, what it's most effective against. Obviously, you talked about light infantry, chaff, that type of thing. But what it really is good against, surprisingly, a 5 man unit that puts out 20 shots is going to do 6.7 damage against mech units, assuming they are not going to use anything um, stratagem wise versus it. But really, kind of the benefit of the Intercessor squad is it's a 80-man or 80-point units. That why would your opponent spend a CP to defend something that is being shot by an intercessor squad?
Yeah.
So you can seriously diminish a unit that's getting too close to your intercessor squad while you're defending your home objective, your base. And I'm kind of blending into a little bit of our next little chapters here, but yeah, it does 6.7 damage. It's nothing to sneeze at against mech.
Does that include the grenade launcher?
It does not.
Yeah, so that's even a little bit more damage though. You said 6.7. You're probably get up to 7, maybe 7.5 on the math there. So basically, you're gonna kill 3 Marines, which isn't terrible, honestly, for what they do. So so when looking at this, I guess we kind of covered the data sheet. So let's get into those synergies and how we're going to run them on the tabletop. Something I want to point out that I have heard a lot of people talk about, a lot of people ask about, I should say, specifically on Auspec's Discord, is, well, should I take a 10-man, like 40 shots? Like, that sounds amazing. Oh, put a lieutenant with them. It's not worth it. The 10-man does not bring anything to the table that 2 5-mans don't do better. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, like, I guess the leader, right? But are you really going to spend 65 more points on a bunch of strength 4 AP1 shots to give them lethal? It's probably not. Do you want things lethals on stuff that is going to deal a lot more damage per shot, right? Damage 2 stuff with higher AP, that's going to be sure to go through. So I don't think a lieutenant is ever going to be worth it with them. And the 10-man, what do you gain by getting it? Well, now you've restricted your 40 shots into a single unit. Versus 2 5-mans, you can shoot 20 shots at 2 units. You can still shoot 40 shots at 1 unit, but now you can shoot 20 shots at 2 units. You get the same number of grenade launchers. Now you get an extra sergeant with a power fist. So, and you have 2 units that can go and do 2 different things. Sticky 2 objectives. So 2 5-mans, if you want to take 10, I don't know that you need to take 10, but if you want to take 10, always go 2x5. Don't take a 10-man. It doesn't bring any extra synergy to your list, and just makes them a bigger target.
Yep, exactly. And because the meta really, really kind of favors MSU right now, it's kind of transitioned. 6 months ago, it was big squads, big durable things. Hey, how do you deal with this? Now it is firmly into MSU land in what we need to do. So you do not want to be taking the big squad of intercessors, and that's going to be my advice for every single unit, with some tiny exceptions, which we'll probably be getting into in a future video here real shortly. But yeah, 5-man is going to do more than enough for what you need to do. It's going to stick you the objective. You want a second one, then you got 2 objectives that could potentially stick you. That's going to be something that your opponent has to deal with. But in this particular case, I think 1 is going to be sufficient for most lists, comboed with other either battle line units or something in addition. One thing I do want to mention is with synergies with these guys is they work very, very well with lone operative models. What I mean with that is you can get onto your home objective, sticky it, and then you can use your lone operative to, whether it be lieutenant with combi weapon, you can use that to screen your backfield and let your intercessors move on to a no man's land objective without having to fear about your back line. So that lieutenant can basically protect your objective without actually having to sit on it. So you're going to get that little screen action. Obviously, if your opponent has some of those deep strike shenanigans where they can deep strike within 6 inches, you have to worry about that a little bit closer, but normally it's only that 9 inches that you're going to have to deal with. And that's where lone operatives are really good with, in combination with this unit.
Yeah, that's a great shout. And to go along with that, something that I've heard people ask, well, are we still running infiltrators? And I mean, yeah, you can, but honestly, these guys have replaced infiltrators in my list, and the reason why is I think they do the job better. A lot of times we were using infiltrators in our side of the board, in our backfield, to protect from that deep strike. So rarely, unless your opponent just doesn't have any deep strike, then you can use them to infiltrate to a midfield, objective or outside your deployment zone, that kind of thing. But um, the main reason why we were running infiltrators was to protect our deep strike. And I think even in the land of 6-inch deep strikes everywhere, I think that intercessors still do that job just as well as infiltrators do. And the reason why is no, they don't have a bubble, right? So if your opponent can 6-inch deep strike, you get 6 inches from each guy. But the infiltrator's job is to protect your home objective. And so they got to stand on that objective in order to do that and project their bubble from there. Well, the intercessors don't. They can sticky that objective and then move off it and spread out and provide basically the same coverage that the infiltrators were and not have to worry about being on the objective itself. This also then, if your opponent doesn't have deep strike, or maybe you have a lone op like Bob suggested, you can then move the intercessors out and leave the home objective and go sticky another objective. Or use their guns, which are much better than infiltrators' guns, to shoot chaff units, that sort of thing.
Yep, and they give you some offensive power that infiltrators, frankly, did not give you. Plus, they are also halfway decent in close combat because you have the sergeant who can punch
Powerful.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So, between the fact that you're going to be able to utilize them if you're standing still, with the heavy getting that increased buff, which I did not account for in my math, but it's there if you're standing still. Or you can also, advance them and
Mm-hmm.
still shoot with
Mm-hmm.
assaults because they do have the combination rule with the bolt rifles, which is awesome. So that means you can be very adaptable with what they need to do on the battlefield. So that's really good. It's something that we have not really been utilizing a ton, at least early on in 10th edition. And now with MSU being kind of a more important thing, we need to sticky some things so we can utilize our units and get them into the midfield. Because right now, if we're delegating units to the backfield, we're not going to be as effective.
Yeah, I agree. They're great in that role to be able to be a utility player for you just as much as they are a home objective protector. So they have the utility to be able to run off and do something else and actually deal some damage to some units. Obviously you're not going to expect them to like hose down stuff like Stern Guard or Hellblasters would. That's not their job. Their job is to clear chaff and take objectives, and they do that very, very well. So, um, so we talked a little bit about synergies. Bob, how would you? We've talked a little bit about how to play these guys on the tabletop. Anything else you want to add to how to utilize them during games?
I think it's really important that you have to lever their ability to advance and shoot. So sticking your home objective, getting to where they need to, and your opponent's going to be rushing to the center of the board, getting to no man's land, whether it's either 2 objectives or 3. Ideally, they're even better with the third objective in no man's land, because your opponent will probably have a uh, lightly defense on at least one of the objectives that you can come up on there. So they're going to be doing the same thing that you're doing, trying to just get something on there to start scoring points, advance up there, shoot, and then maybe you can get a charge off once you get closer. Obviously, if you advance, you're not going to be able to get the charge unless you're in Gladius, but you can get close, set up, shoot, charge, As we mentioned earlier in this, you're not going to be putting characters with them, so they're obviously don't charge them into something that's going to
Yeah.
destroy them.
Yeah.
But if it's just a weak Elder unit or Drakari or whatever it is, you can shoot them, take them down to half, charge them in there, and contest. Because
Yeah.
remember, they're battle line. You're
They
going
got
to have OC2
OC2.
on that thing.
Yep.
So that's something that you're going to have to do. Slingshot them, and they can play a good bubble wrap game for you. Get them in combat against something that's not likely to kill the whole squad, and stall it out a turn, and force them to devote some more resources to that objective. So I mean, sometimes you have to play that stall game just so that you can score some extra points or deny your opponent some points. Utilize them that way.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, if you have to defend your home base and you have something like a lone op or another unit that you can spare that's cheap, that is not really necessary to go to your opponent, stick you that home objective, spread them out in your deployment zone, and then you're going to be able to block off a good chunk of that board for your opponent. And when they drop in, then you got firing lanes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are going to be some of the things that you're going to be wanting to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else to consider, and I know that it's not competitive right now, but Wrathful Procession. This detachment was made with the Codex in mind, and we know our Codex is coming. We are on the roadmap. So my guess is probably summer. By summer, we will have our Codex. So they, with the ability to advance and shoot, that means you can move them at least 9 inches a turn. That's pretty crazy for a battle line unit that can advance and shoot and then sticky something like. So they are definitely very good in that detachment, even if that detachment right now is not very good. From what we know that it was all the Grotmus detachments were made with their codex in mind. If their codex hasn't been released yet, so that tells me that what is going to be in the codex hopefully will make Wrathful better and hopefully make it competitive. We'll have to see, obviously, when that comes out. But if you're playing more casually and you want to play Wrathful because you like the movement or whatnot, this is a great unit for that detachment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very well-rounded toolkit with us. I probably would recommend taking the one unit and utilizing either Assault Intercessors or another battle line unit, or maybe even just the Intercessors by themselves because they fulfilled that role admirably. Can't talk today. By themselves. So, I like them a lot. For 80 points as the time of this video, they're a steal, honestly. Between the grenade launcher and the power fist that you can take on your sergeant, plus having 20 shots in a 5-man is pretty ridiculous, honestly.
It's a lot of talk.
Don't invest in a 10-man squad.
No.
Separate them out if you want to take the 2, but I think 1 is going to be more than sufficient for what you're trying to do.
And they do come in our combat patrol box too, so that's handy. So you can kit them all out with cool chained bolt guns and go to town with them from there. And so, which makes that box just even all that much better for Black Templars right now. So that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube algorithm things. And, let us know how you're using them in your games. What successes have you had? What, have you run into any issues? Is there anything we didn't talk about with this unit that you've had success or a way to play them? So please let us know down in the comment. Please also check out our Patreon. We've got lots of great content. We've got some behind-the-scenes content, chit-chat between Bob and I, before and after videos when we make these. We've got a lot of other great benefits. We also have YouTube members. If you'd rather do YouTube membership versus Patreon, you get basically all the same benefits from that as well. And we've got a great Discord with exclusive Patreon roles, lots of great talk on there every day. So come check us out there as well. And until next time, keep on crusading.